Hello, Podfam, and hello, Rachel. How are you today?
I'm all right. This was kind of a journey getting this episode going. And I
Oh my God.
really hope it sounds okay because I'm sorry, guys, if my audio sounds a bit different than it usually does. But my microphone, I think, just decided to die. And I don't know why. But I couldn't hear a word Laura was saying when using it. So I'm using my laptop microphone.
Yeah, it just has been a process to get here.
Yeah, it has.
Over an
It
hour,
has.
over an hour. So this is how dedicated we are to recording this episode this evening. And
Yep,
we are actually in the same house
we
during this
are.
recording. And we've just had like failure after failure because before we're like, oh my God, we'll just like record together and we can look at each
Yeah.
other and have a conversation. Nope, that did not work.
No.
And then we tried to spread ourselves out. That was working better, but then
Yep.
the microphones decided to die. So
Yeah.
here we are. We've made it.
Yeah, we made it. But yes, I hope that everything turns out all right because this is going to be a fun episode tonight. But first of all, let's start off with what we're drinking. What are you having today?
I am having the lovely Don't Worry, Be Happy, which is
Hmm.
a herbal tea that is a blend of chamomile and peppermint, and I believe some licorice as well, which is one of your favorites.
There is a little bit of licorice in there. And I'm having the same thing because we're in the same house. Very exciting. I love it. I love
Rachel
it.
almost broke out the wine. We were
I
close.
I did. I did. And with how the last hour went, I'm surprised that we actually didn't break it out.
Yeah, it was a
Yeah.
close call.
It
Close
was.
call.
It was. But today we are going to be diving into the world of professional emails. Are you excited?
I'm really excited because you know, I write emails every day. I write several every
Mm-hmm.
day, in fact, and I'm always so conscious of, what I'm trying to say. And
Mm-hmm.
honestly, Rachel, maybe you can relate to this. I feel like I spend so much time crafting emails. Like I can knock
Yeah.
off all my other tasks, no problem, but to like write an email, especially if it's like
Mm-hmm.
about something important, oh my
Mm-hmm.
God, it doesn't take me half a day, but like sometimes it feels like it does.
Oh, I've definitely spent a good 3 hours on some emails in my day. And, I think that it's tough just writing emails when you are a woman. We are so in our heads about how it sounds.
Yes, we're so conscious of like, okay, how am I coming off? Am I being perceived correctly? Am I being taken serious enough? Am I
Mm-hmm.
being friendly enough? Like it just goes
Mm-hmm.
on and on. And then I don't know if you're guilty of this too. I'll write an email, I'll read it
Mm-hmm.
back, and I'll be like, wow, can I spell? Or like I'm actually it's not that I'm a bad speller. It's more I get typing and I'm thinking so fast in my head that I skip words.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's what happens to me. So I always have to go back and be really careful to make sure I put like all the words in the sentence, not just some of them.
Hmm. My favorite one for this example is I think was it last week? I think
Yeah.
I got an email from Laura as I can't remember what I was doing, but it was we were on a meeting together.
You were asking me if something had been done. That's what you were
Yes,
doing.
yes, and you were saying I don't think so. That's what you meant to say,
I was going for that.
except you clicked send a bit too soon, and I kid you not, guys, I got an email from Laura saying I don't think. Period. So, yeah, just, that's a nice illustration of what you were just talking about, I think.
Yeah. And do I think? Questionable.
No, apparently not.
Clearly, I don't think.
So yeah, that's become a meme in itself in our professional life. Feel free to take that if you just like need something to laugh at every so often. But really, what we wanted to focus on today is as women, when we're writing emails, we put so much thought into how we're perceived. And it's, hot take, when we compare it to our male coworkers' emails, there's a distinct difference in the directness.
Yeah, there really is because I feel like women feel like they need to like add a lot of fluff and
Yeah.
like come off as very friendly, because we don't want to be perceived as being like too forward or too aggressive in
Yeah.
our writing, where like our male counterparts, they can kind of write something really short and direct and like no one takes offense. nine
No.
times out of 10, right? But like us women, and it's all in our head. Like I've
Yeah.
never gotten a direct email from a woman and being like, whoa, like what's
Yeah.
wrong with her? I've never thought that. So it is really ridiculous. And it's just something that we have conjured up in our own minds.
Yep.
But that being said, there are sometimes that double standard of how emails are to be written
Mhm.
and how they are perceived based on the gender. We're trying not to get down that road too far today because really all we can do is just focus on ourselves.
Mhm.
What are we trying to say? What message are we trying to deliver?
Mhm.
And just provide the most clarity for our own situation. Like we
Exactly.
can't be trying to go out and change everything right now. We just need to focus on ourselves, especially just when it comes to emails, and then that just affects how people perceive you and how you feel about yourself.
Exactly. Like, really, we just wanted to give some tips just to help us get the messaging that we want out there, as opposed to, trying to soften it in every corner.
Oh, exactly. And I think Rachel, that's perfect spot to start for
Mhm.
this episode. Let's talk a little bit about the type of emails we are kind of guilty for writing because we both kind of have a different style. We tend to lean towards. For me in general, like I used to write mundane emails with a lot of fluff because I felt like they
Mhm.
needed to be longer. But the
Mhm.
thing is, like who I am as a person, I'm very short and to the point. Like I don't
Yes.
try to embellish very much. I'm not like a person of many words. So my emails naturally are not either, but I always felt like I needed to add more and like have more explanation,
Mhm.
even though something could be really simple, especially if it's like an internal email. So most of the people I communicate via email, I'm in frequent contact with. So like I don't actually send like a whole lot of very formal
Mhm.
emails, and that's really just by chance. Like I just don't have to very often.
Mhm.
And so I've just kind of let myself be more to the point.
Mhm.
And yeah, that's kind of how I like to be. There
Mhm.
are a few words that I'm trying to work out of my vocabulary when I am
Yep.
writing an email. Just is my number one that I have
Uh-huh.
been trying to delete.
Just wanted to
And
follow up.
oh, just checking in. Just to let you know, that is something I'm really trying to
Yeah.
eliminate because it's just a filler word and it just comes off as defensive and a bit apologetic. Where like
Mhm.
I didn't do anything wrong. I'm just asking for something, like so there is no need for a jest.
Yeah, I'm pretty much the opposite of you in the length of emails. I can write a novel, and I will, and it's
If
not
given the
good.
opportunity, you write a
Yes.
novel.
Yes, and it's not good. I really am trying to work on that because I find, like, I put in a lot of filler because I want to sound, I don't like, I want to put it off that, like, I'm positive and fun, which
Yes.
why? Well, I mean, I do because, like, I am in a client service role, so sounding like, excited to be working with the clients and stuff is part of it, but there's only so many times you have to say happy Friday to somebody when it's Friday.
Yeah, you don't need to say it in every email. And actually, I think you made a really good point about just comparing our two situations. As I
Mhm.
mentioned, I do a lot more like back office internal, and I talk to like a lot more like B2B, as in like, like business to business
Yep.
email, where you are way more like B2C, where it's that business to client. So automatically, your tone of email has to be
Mhm.
different, right? Like,
Exactly.
I'm not going to ask like, "Hey, so and so, how's your day?" I know like we talk every day, but it's,
Yeah.
it's just kind of unnecessary. Like, and the thing is like, they don't write me a big long fluffy email back in return. It's
Yes.
usually just a sentence or two.
Yeah. So definitely. And I think with that kind of client role, I do find in those cases, like, sometimes using just as I just wanted to follow up on this, it's like
Mhm.
you're kind of in a position where you're trying to get information from the client, right?
Yeah,
So you don't want to be like, give this to me now. Not that
right.
the way that you would write it sounds like that, but it makes it client friendly.
Yeah, yeah. Like you do need to have a little bit more softness where I
Yes.
find when you're in those like business to business, you can be more direct because like none of us have time to be writing long emails,
We're really
It's
just trying to get shit done.
yes.
So I think my thing is, it's not necessarily filler words, though I do have that problem more internally, and I'm trying to work my way out of it. Where when it's with clients, I think it's filler sentences.
Yes.
So for example, I could give the most clear explanation about something as possible, and then I'll be like, just wanted to make sure that all of this made sense, or just want to make sure if you have any questions. And they're like, it was pretty clear. We're good. But I feel like in those moments, when it's just sentence, 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 and there isn't some fluff in there, like a smiley face or a what do you
Yeah.
think about this? In my perception, I'm like, oh, does this sound kind of like I'm like dictating to the client?
Mhm.
And, I've gotten a response back from one before who is like, no, no questions. Your explanation was perfectly clear with a smiley face. And like, it didn't come off as kind of like a slap on the wrist, like you made me feel dumb. It was
Yeah.
just a like, no, you do speak clearly. Like, you don't need to add in all this filler that really it just takes too long to read.
Well, exactly. And people are just inundated with so many emails, text messages, phone calls, like the list of communication goes on and on. Like unless I'm catching up with a family member that I haven't talked to in like years,
Yeah.
I don't want to read a long email.
Hmm.
I don't
Hmm.
want that. I'm like, give me a paragraph. Bullet point is great.
Yeah.
Other than that, like you don't care how my day is going. It's fine. You don't
No.
have to ask. I'm not like upset.
I know. And I want to stay on this, like, does this make sense train? Because I do this a lot.
Yeah.
And I think it can kind of be interpreted a few ways. And one way can be like, this person won't understand what I'm talking about. But I feel like it comes off differently, where it comes off for me like, I don't know what I'm talking about. It's like
Yes.
I'm presenting to the client that, oh, I can't form my words in a concise way that I know makes sense to you. I've just written this long email. And then at the end, I say, does this make sense? Then they're like, well, I don't know.
It's like, I don't know if I've understood what you're trying to say to me. Like,
Yeah, it's like you're the one who's giving me this information. Do you understand what you're talking about? That's a tough one because I feel like it can be perceived in so many ways, but in the end, I think we just need to work it out of our vocabulary because I feel like it just either way, whether it's perceived as you're condescending or you don't believe in your own ability, you're
yeah.
creating doubt in the other person's mind about your ability.
Yeah. And it's just kind of like at one end or the other, someone is feeling like an idiot, right?
Exactly. Exactly. And that's not a good way to go about it.
No, not at all. Like you want to be coming off on your emails as confident and knowing what you're talking about.
And another, I don't even know if this is a filler word, but another one is putting sorry in
Yeah.
your email. Why are we saying sorry?
I know. I always feel like when I do this, I'm like, sorry to bother you. Like
Yeah, yeah.
that's kind of how I use
Mhm.
sorry. Like it's just like, oh, I'm sorry, I need to get something from you.
Mhm.
I know you're busy.
Mhm.
Yeah, that one I kind of struggle with sometimes as well.
Mhm.
And like really at the fundamental, there is nothing to be sorry about. Like you're just asking for something and you can ask for something politely
Mhm.
without adding sorry, because really what we're using sorry for is excuse me, right?
Yes.
Like how we would talk face to face.
Mhm.
I wouldn't say, sorry, can
Yep.
you do this? I'd say, excuse me, do you have time to do this? Like
Yeah.
it's just a different way where we're trying to translate our spoken word into a written word.
Mhm.
And we fumble a little bit, especially as Canadians. That's a
Mhm.
stereotype that we say sorry way too often, and it's
Mhm.
it's true. It's true.
Exactly. Because I feel like that is makes a lot of sense for like the again that B2B communication,
Yeah.
and even with clients that you've had a long-standing relationship with. But another one that on more client-facing perspective is the, oh, sorry for the delay here,
Right.
which is sometimes like, yeah, I am sorry, like this took way longer than it should have, but I've been trying to reframe it to thank you for your patience,
Yes.
because it's still kind of saying like, I acknowledge that this took longer than it needed to,
Mhm.
but it's framing it in a positive light. It's not, "Oh, I fucked up, I'm sorry." It's, "Thank you for giving me the time to do this properly."
Yeah, and I find it's more like an acknowledgement of the
Mhm.
person you're talking
Mhm.
to, where sorry for the delay. I don't know why it gives me the feeling that the focus is on you,
Yeah.
not the person you're talking to. I don't know if that makes like crystal clear sense, but it just kind of feels like I'm trying to pass the buck a little bit, like, "Oh,
Yeah.
delay, this and this is happening," right? Like I'm not taking
Yeah.
ownership, whereby like, "Thanks for your patience." You're not putting the blame all on yourself, but you're just acknowledging that the person you're speaking to has been waiting, and, you're acknowledging that they have waited.
Yeah, yeah, I like that assessment of it because I think with the sorry for the delay here, it almost shuts that conversation down where it's just like, yeah, I acknowledge I didn't do this, but here you go. And
Right.
like it kind of ends there
It's like a
where
consolation prize.
yeah, where with the thanks for your patience, like it's positive and it's, acknowledging the relationship and it's acknowledging the fact that you didn't deliver when this person
Mhm.
expected to. And it's opening the door for them to be like, hey, yeah, that's all right. Or potentially like, hey, yeah, I really wish that you had gotten this to me sooner. Is there
Mhm.
something that we can talk about or something that I can help you with to make sure that, you help stay on track?
Right.
It creates room for relationships because it's positive.
It is positive. And
Yeah.
then let's kinda stay on the being positive track
Oh,
with
yes.
a lot of people will kind of start an email off of like, I'm not an expert in this, or
Mm.
like, hey, I don't really know, but what they're kind of called is qualifiers.
Yep.
So instead of saying like, hey, I'm the expert on this, here's my opinion, it's like, I'm not an expert on this, but here's my opinion. Like before the person has even read your thought or your opinion or suggestion, they're like, well, this person doesn't know.
Exactly.
Why should I have confidence
Mhm.
in them? Like
Mhm.
if they don't know, I should be seeking advice from someone else. So
Mhm.
I don't think I use this. I can't recall if I've ever used this
Yeah.
before. Like probably joking like to you or friends, I'll say like,
Yeah.
I'm the expert, right? Like, or I just work here.
I actually don't know very much,
Yeah.
but I appreciate that you think I do.
Yeah. But I don't think I've ever written that in an email.
No.
So I don't know. And I don't really get it too many emails that say
Mhm.
that, but I know there are people out there that will kind of shut themselves down before they've even started.
It kinda ties into that, "Does this make sense?" You're not necessarily using a qualifier with
Yeah.
that, but you're almost, like, taking yourself down a step and
Yes.
being like, "I kinda know what I'm talking about, but just in case I don't,
I'm going to
here's
tell
my
you.
scapegoat." Yeah, here's my
Yeah.
scapegoat. I'm not an expert.
Yeah, like, I'm gonna come out and tell you right away, like, I don't know what I'm talking about, and
Mhm.
I feel like this one is definitely tied to women in particular, because if
Yeah,
you think of a job opening, right? Like, there's 2 people who want to put an application in, there's a man and a woman, and this common saying is that, like, a man will look at the qualifiers for the job, match 1 of them, and apply for the job, where
exactly.
a woman will look at the qualifiers for a job, match 9 of them, but
Mhm.
doesn't make that 10th one, so she doesn't apply, right?
Exactly.
So I feel like we really do fall victim
Mhm.
as women because we default to that not being as confident if we don't make all the qualifications. But, like,
Mhm.
we don't need to worry about that. Like, you don't have to go out and tell people that you're not the expert. It's all about sounding confident, right? And
Yeah.
being sound in what you're trying to say.
Yep. And a good thing too, even going beyond emails here, like maybe you're in a meeting where somebody asks you a question and you're not confident in the answer. If you're not confident in the answer, whether it's email or in person on a phone call, you can just say, I'm going to take this and sit with it for a bit and I'll get back to you, as opposed to saying, oh, I don't know.
Yeah, or saying like, saying, "I don't know," or making a rash decision, and then when
Hmm.
you finally do look at all the information, you're like, "Ooh, I made the wrong choice," and then
Yes.
having to go back on your word or have whatever result you were looking for not work out, then
Hmm.
it does really shake someone's trust in you,
Yeah.
because you just said like, well, you said this would work. Like, why isn't
Mhm.
it working? And then another one that you can kind of slip in there in terms of email is just ask for feedback. Like,
Yes.
I'm thinking about this, but like, what are your thoughts?
Mhm.
Do you have any feedback on that? Do you think this is going to work? Then that kind of keeps the communication open, and you're not outright saying, like, I have no idea, right?
Yeah,
Like, you're offering your opinion. And you know what? That person probably has the same opinion as you, or
exactly.
they have a little bit different of viewpoint and they can grow on your opinion, right?
Mhm.
Like, that just makes it so much more collaborative versus being like, I don't know, but here you go.
Yeah. How do you handle, if you are looking over a colleague's work or, even a client sends something and you notice an error? How do you communicate that back to them? Because that's a really difficult thing to do. And
Oh,
I know for me, like I used to be like, oh, like, I mean, I'm not sure, but I don't think this is right. I've kind of rephrased it where, especially I'm still very junior, but I'll say like, "Oh, I was reading this over and I'm wondering if this should actually be here, or I'm
right.
wondering if, we should do the calculation this way or we should write it this way." So it opens the door for collaboration and it's not combative. But what do you think about that? Because it's very tricky.
That is. And I feel like we're in different situations here because with your work, it can be a little bit more gray in how to
Yes.
handle a situation.
Yes.
Where in my work, like I actually do have to do this frequently in my role because I have to check things to make
Mhm.
sure it goes in correctly. And
Mhm.
there is only one way, right? Like it's
Yes.
not like there's 10 different ways that this can go in. And so I just man, I really now I feel like I need to check myself. I'm like, am I doing this nicely? I probably lay it out as a situation,
Okay.
right? Like hey, like when it says this, we need to do it this way,
Yes.
right? And
Yeah.
so often, like with what I do, until it happens, you don't know really how to handle it. So
Mhm.
that's kind of how I roll. But yeah, it's more just laying out like hopefully in a nice manner.
Yeah.
Um, because I'm not trying to be mean. And I
Mhm.
found in the past when I would find errors, I would just do fix them myself
Yeah.
because I was just like, oh, like there's a lot of them and I don't want to confront them about this. So
Mhm.
I'll just do it. But no, like that's not the point. The
Yes.
point is that they know how to do it correctly.
Yeah.
So I don't know, I just kind of got more confident in saying like, hey, just like when this situation arises, this is how you handle it. However, when it's this way, you do this instead.
Mhm.
And that's just kind of like a building thing.
Mhm.
So that's kind of how I handle it. I don't know if that's like the best advice,
Yep.
but I feel like it's so different when you have something that there's many different solutions versus one that like this is how it goes. Like it's kind of like a mechanical
Yeah.
solution.
Yeah, and I mean, I think that that's a good perspective too from somebody who you are teaching
Right.
people where, in my role, it's more like we're just kind of this conglomerate of people and a bunch of ideas,
Yeah,
so it's like you do have a bit more of a senior perspective and knowledge to pass down to people. So you do have to go through that process. And I think that approaching it from a teaching standpoint makes it positive because then you empower the people who, are learning with you.
exactly. Like for me, I
Mhm.
probably say, "Oh, looks great," but like we just have a few little things
Yeah.
to correct. That's kind of how I say it, and
Mhm.
I have various ways of saying like, "Oh, looks awesome, fantastic." I know sometimes like you literally just you didn't know that that's
Yeah.
how this situation is supposed to be handled. So like
Mhm.
I can't like who can get mad at that if you don't know, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, so it's more just a learning experience of just like, okay, keep this in your back pocket. When you see this, do that.
Mhm.
And that's kind of how we build. And then as time goes on, it
Mhm.
becomes less frequent because now they've built up on all this knowledge of
Mhm.
different situations, right?
Mhm.
And like they do ask because I was just like, sorry, I don't want to like bother you. This is in the early days when I first started having to do this. And they're
Mhm.
like, no, like we want to know how to do it correctly.
Yes,
Right.
exactly.
So
Exactly.
yeah, I feel like the person giving the advice has to be confident enough to give it.
Yeah.
And it's nice when the people who you're working with, like, they're open to receiving it.
Yes.
I try not to make it like the be all and end all of like, oh, you made one little error. This is all garbage. Like,
Exactly.
you don't want anyone to be scared to come to you as well, right? Because it
Mhm.
works just in turn where if they have a question, if they're too scared to ask you,
Mhm.
that's just a whole other problem that we're not even getting into tonight. I feel like we're like
No.
venturing off emails so much.
Yeah. Well, like, I think another good perspective too is from the perspective of, the junior who is reaching out, being like, especially reaching out to a superior to be like, hey, I think that something is off here. I know that it's really nerve wracking and you don't necessarily want to correct your superiors, especially if you're incorrect, but that also builds trust for you with your senior team because they know that you're thinking about it. You're not just blindly trusting what they're doing. It's like you're like, oh, but maybe we should do it this way. Or, oh, I noticed this and it's not right. Can we fix it? And then they're like, oh, I trust that when you look at something, you're not just like, you're actually like seeing everything that's going on. You're not just trusting it because I did it.
Yeah, and I think it just shows a good work ethic in general, right? Like,
Yes.
you're paying attention
Mm-hmm.
at your job. You're looking for those details
Mm-hmm.
and asking questions, like, I think it's almost nice when a senior person like has a more junior person bring up something that was a mistake or something that could be done better, because I think it takes initiative, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
you're showing initiative that you care
Mm-hmm.
and you're paying attention to what they're trying to teach you, right? Like, obviously the information is going in. So I think it's just a good sign if you are feeling like you need to reach out to someone senior. Like,
Mm-hmm.
obviously, this is getting off topic, but
It's
there
fine.
are work situations and workplaces that you could be totally scared
Mm-hmm.
of the seniority people. But if you're working for a good company, like, there's no animosity just to reach out and say like, hey, I kind of caught that. Like, what do you think about it? Right? Like, 9 times out of 10, they're just like, "Hey, good catch." Right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
and it's great. It looks good on you.
Yes, it does. Shall we move into exclamation points?
Yes.
Okay. I love a good exclamation point. Let
Guilty.
me tell you. Let me tell
Guilty.
you. I need to, how at the beginning we were like, oh, every so often I have to read through my email again to like edit it out. Mostly it's just removing the 7 exclamation points and occasionally the one emoji. Why is there an emoji there? I don't know. Couldn't tell you. I feel like I look like I'm batshit crazy though on the other. People are like, is she okay?
How much coffee has this girl had?
And I'm like, at least 4 cups. Thank you. Good night.
Yes. Yes, I personally, like, I definitely use exclamation points. I don't I well, okay, depending on the email, I try not to use them in the body of the
Yes.
email too much. I'm
Yes.
if, like, I have, like, my people who I talk to all the time and, like, we're on a pretty informal basis, I'll be like, "Hey," exclamation point or "Hi, so and so." I do that. I try not to put them in the body, and unless we're having a joke, then sometimes I'll do that. I'll throw in an LOL and a haha, but I am a thanks exclamation mark girl.
Same.
I feel like
Same.
we've turned a lot of people onto that where we work. There's
I
been
know.
a noticeable uptake in the thanks exclamation mark.
Yes. I've also noticed the hope you had a great weekend and it was sunny! Exclamation mark. It's like, yes, yes, it was sunny, Rachel. We were all there. And I'm
Yeah,
like,
right?
yeah, but I gotta make sure that you liked it.
I know, right? Hope you got outside.
Yeah. Yeah. So, like, I mean, I don't really have an issue with the exclamation marks. I think it just makes the workplace positive because you don't have that aid of body language with emails,
Yes,
especially in this like remote work kind of thing. Like, I mean, we have Zoom, but like, even then, you barely have body language cues. That
exactly.
it's just nice to, even though like it maybe necessarily doesn't need to be there, just starting it off with like, hey, I hope you're having a great day! Exclamation mark. It makes you feel good. And I think that that's totally fine. Just maybe don't put one at the end of every sentence because then you look a little
It
crazy,
then
a
you
little
look
wild.
crazy, and,
Yes.
just on the exclamation marks, like with the attitude, I feel like it's changed over the
Yeah.
years. Like in the
Mhm.
past few decades when before like emails were almost the equivalent of writing a letter.
Mhm.
They used to be longer, they used to be more formal.
Mhm.
But as you just said, we're so digital now that like email to me is like a text message.
Exactly.
Like there's almost no difference, right? Like one pops
Mhm.
up on the computer, the other one pops up on my phone. So that's where like I don't care if I get an email with a lot of exclamation marks. Like, okay, maybe if you put like five on each sentence, I'll be like, okay, I'll take notice.
Okay.
I'll take
Yep.
notice. I won't say anything, but I'll probably take notice.
Mhm.
But I feel like it's more just our effort of trying to put personality
Mhm.
into writing.
Yeah.
And it's literally just where our world has gone, right? Like we communicate so differently than how we did even 10 years ago. So I personally don't have a problem with it. Obviously for like a more professional email, I don't
Yes.
do that. You got to read the room of of the email you're trying to write or respond to.
Mhm.
But overall, I really don't have a problem either. I kinda leave it at the hello and the goodbye, but depending on who I'm talking to, yeah, I'm gonna throw one in the body of the email as well.
And then you get the emails that you and I write to each other where it's, "Hi friend,
"Hey, friend."
smiley face.
Smiley face.
How is this going? Question mark, exclamation mark. Let me know, smiley
Let me
face.
know.
Thank you, exclamation mark. It's not that bad, but I really needed to set the scene.
Exactly. And can we just
Exactly.
take a moment to acknowledge that we have a book of gifts that we want approved for
Yes.
office emails?
Yep. You know what? I feel like, as the millennials and Gen Z take over, that's going to be a thing.
Yeah, I think gifts are gonna start popping up in the emails, and it's going to be hilarious.
Yep.
Obviously, we'll keep them work approved and probably
Yep.
internal, but so much can be said. A picture's worth a thousand words.
Exactly.
That's going to be the new email. I mean, that's how
Yep.
we text half the time.
Honestly, imagine if I just sent like the little dog in the fire going, "This is fine." Imagine if I just sent that to a client tomorrow.
I don't think that would go over well.
No, I don't think so either, but in my heart, I would go out on a high, you
Yeah,
know? You
I
know?
feel like I have three. I've got that one, and then I have like the monkey sitting on the chair being like, "What?" Um,
Yep.
and then and then also like the cat that's like smiling but crying and having a thumbs up.
Yep. Yep.
those, those are my go-tos.
Yeah, I also have the Harry Potter one from like the Goblet of Fire movie where he goes, "No offense, but I really don't care."
Oh god. Okay, I'm just
Yeah.
gonna keep thinking of some. So we got to move off
Yes we
the
do.
gifts. One other thing. This is pretty much just internal,
Mhm.
and there's a bunch of us who are guilty of it. That we don't even actually write an email. We write a message in the subject line.
Yes. Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
I'm so guilty of that, but everyone else is too. So
It's fine.
that is the email text message. You
It
know,
is.
we
It
don't
is.
want to waste people's time having to open it, so we just put the question right in the subject.
Exactly. I mean, I think that it's a time saver,
I
so
think so too. I appreciate it when it's like that concise. I love it.
yeah, so like I don't really have anything bad to say about exclamation marks, and I think that we should all continue to use them because the more exclamation marks we use, the closer we're going to get to being allowed to use GIFs and emails.
Exactly. So
Yes.
let's move into the long email. Now, we already did kind of touch on
Mm,
this a little bit, but the thing is, no one has time for long, lengthy, fluffy emails,
no,
right?
no, they don't.
Yeah.
And this is definitely something that I've been trying to practice, especially when talking to the clients, because I go like a step by step, detail by detail email, and it's so long
Hmm.
that I've been trying to practice like, okay, what's the high level result of the work that I've done? And, what am I exactly trying to communicate? And if they want to know the step by step or they want to get more in the thick of it, they will ask.
Yeah. I find, especially when I'm trying to write emails where like there is a step by step of like, okay, you need to do A, B, C, and you write it out so it sounds like a nice letter. But then in my head, I kind of try to put myself in that place and being like, okay, if I were reading this email and I
Mm-hmm.
don't know anything about X, can I follow this and understand it? Right. And I think that's
Yes.
where that clear and concise comes through,
Mm-hmm.
where you really need to go back through your emails and just say like, okay, is this going to make sense to the audience that this is directed at?
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Or is this like super high level that
Mhm.
anyone can understand it? Or is it
Mhm.
super detailed and nitty gritty where
Mhm.
like only the IT guy is going to understand it because you're talking in code?
Yeah, and I mean, is it also so detailed that they won't even get that far because it's too long, didn't read? Sometimes I open an email and I'm like, "Nope, don't have time for that."
Yeah, I'm like, put your most important thing right at the top. That's what I'll
Yeah.
see.
Yeah, but I think you made a really good point there because, sometimes when you're working, I think, again, that B2B situation that you were talking about, where you're working with other professionals in your field, you can get very kind of technical and straight to the point with them because, like, that they're on the same wavelength, where when it's clients, you don't necessarily know what their knowledge level is.
Exactly. It's kind of like talking shop
Yeah,
versus talking to, grade school, right? Like
exactly.
you need
Exactly.
to understand what do they understand
Hmm.
and how simplified do I
Hmm.
need to be in my language?
Mhm. Because, you might have someone who, like, knows how to send a rocket to the moon and somebody who can't even fathom that that's a possibility. How detailed can I get without confusing them? But also, how detailed should I get so that they don't just shut my email off because it's boring?
Exactly. They're going to
Yeah.
be like, "Oh god, Rachel's emailing again. It's going to be a novel," right? Like you don't
Yes.
want that. You don't
No.
want that. And there is an art to writing clear and concise emails. So I have a favorite quote actually that fits this situation perfectly. It's by Blaise Pascal and is I have only made this letter longer because I didn't have the time to make it shorter. And
Facts.
that's so true because I feel like so many of us we can easily ramble on, right? In
Mhm.
an email.
Mhm.
And you're just talking about way too much. You're going all over the place. You got so much filler and fluff in there. You probably wrote that faster than you did going back through
Mhm.
and clearing that all out. So it does take time and it does take practice as well. The more you practice, the faster you're going to get. But still, making a concise and clear email takes time.
Mhm.
Like it takes way longer to write one of those emails than it does to just like blab on.
Take it back to, like, high school and university when, we would write essays. Your first draft of an essay is often pretty long and rambly, run on sentences everywhere and stuff. And the bulk of the work is actually going back and editing that essay.
Yes. And just cleaning it up.
Yeah, and like making sure it makes sense and, removing the filler words or using a more impactful word than what's already there. Like, judge the situation that you're in and work to understand the person you're communicating with.
Yes, exactly. And then, Rachel, I have one more thing to get your thoughts on is
Mm.
using I too much.
Huh.
Do you consciously make an effort to rewrite a sentence so it doesn't start with I?
Yes and no. Again, kind of going to the fact that I'm more client focused. I do that because I want to create the feeling that we're a team.
Hmm.
So oftentimes, like, I'll be writing an email and I'll be like, I hope you're having a good day. I
Hmm.
wanted to reach out about this because I noticed this. I am going to do this. It sounds very like I'm directing.
Right.
So sometimes in those situations, I'll replace it and use, like, I noticed this and I think we should move forward this way. But I'm curious to know what your thoughts are because, like, our roles are very different.
Yeah. So I always try not to open my email with I.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why. I must have learned it somewhere
Mm-hmm.
along the lines where like you don't start an email with I. It's probably in one of
Yeah.
my like communication classes that I
Mm-hmm.
took back in university. So that's where I will start with like, hope you're having a great day and just kind of taking myself a little bit out of it and then putting the
Yeah.
focus more on the person I'm talking to.
Mm-hmm.
And then in terms of like, I'm just wondering, I'll say like, wondering if this is available, right? Like, so
Mm-hmm.
maybe that's just me being really concise, but also consciously trying not to use I and just.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where I'm at. And then like, I obviously have to use I sometimes, right? Like you can't skirt
Yeah.
around the word. But yeah, just throughout the whole email, I try to get like a little bit creative so it doesn't seem like I'm the subject of the email.
Exactly. And I mean, I think that can go back to, like, grade school.
Yeah.
because I don't know about you, but I was definitely taught a lot to just like try to reduce the use of the word I when I'm speaking. So I wonder if it's probably something to do with just like those lessons that we were
Yeah,
taught
I
as
feel like
well.
maybe it's just this collective learning that we've had over like 20 years
Yeah,
that we've just kind of built this up. And so that's just, you know, anyone who reads my emails and listening to this, they'll probably pick up on that when they go back and read my emails. They'll be like, "Oh, she
fair.
doesn't start emails with I."
Yeah. Yeah, that's
And
really
that's why.
interesting. I'm good. I'm glad I know that because sometimes I get emails and I'm like, "What?" I mean, I love it, but
It's not weird.
it's
It's
not
not
weird.
weird.
It's not weird. But I have noticed it.
Yes.
Like it's
It's
something that
different.
it is different. Probably because like I use the word "I hope you have a great day" way too
Right.
often.
Yeah.
So,
Just try it
yes,
out, Rachel, see if you like it.
I will. I'll let you know and then I will join you on your hill.
Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And I feel like to finish off this episode, let's talk about how do you sign off on an email?
Oh.
That's a tough one.
Okay,
Talk
first
about
of
like that.
all,
That is what finishes the tone of an email. It's all about how you sign off.
do you want to know the one way to make me feel like you hate me is
What?
thanks. Either comma or
Oh,
period.
okay. Okay. Okay.
Oh, oh.
Okay. So like my little thanks exclamation mark is fine.
Yes.
Okay, good.
Yes, I love the thanks exclamation mark. It fills me with such joy. But
Okay.
there's the comma is kind of okay. I'm like, okay, well, maybe you didn't have time to,
Yeah, yeah. Commas, I'm
reach.
cool with commas. We get along just fine.
But the period feels intentional.
Yeah, it
It
does.
feel it
It's the end of
feels
a conversation.
it is. It's the do not email me back any questions. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that's where I think I like to have my exclamation marks. If I don't have it anywhere else, I have it at the end of the email.
Yeah, especially if you're just like asking for a friendly request. Like for me, if it's casual, I do the thanks
Mm-hmm.
exclamation mark. If I'm like really needing something, I do the thank you exclamation mark.
Mm-hmm.
A little bit more formal and I don't know them well, it'll be like thank you, comma.
Yep.
If it's super formal, best regards. And then if I've started the email with like, oh, thanks so and so
Mm-hmm.
for getting me whatever, I'll
Mm-hmm.
usually end it with best.
I do
And
that too.
I started using Best probably about 10 years ago when I first started doing work emails because it just felt like I saw one person do it and I don't know, it felt really cool because before I would say like best regards and I just love best. And I feel like some people and I saw this on an article that some people take offense to it. So I'm sorry if anyone ever took offense to that because they just said like they're like, oh, it sounds so like just cold. And I was just like, I always thought it sounded fun and cool. Like I
I
thought it
like
made me
it.
look cool. So I will continue to use best
Yep.
because it just feels fancy free.
It
And
is.
yeah,
My favorite to use when like I kind of need someone to do something quickly or like
yes.
I'm asking someone to do something is thank you in advance exclamation mark. Like you could have just said thank you, but I'm like no, no, no. I need to thank them in advance so that they feel special.
Yes.
But no, I like best. I like best. I also like all the best.
All
If
the best.
I'm
That's
Yeah.
nice. Yeah.
If I'm really feeling it, you know? You know what I've never seen is like someone just ending an email with goodbye. Could you
Goodbye.
imagine?
Like that's so final.
It's like goodbye. Not even bye, just goodbye.
That just seems a
Weird.
little like, you know, final.
Goodbye, period.
Yeah. One thing you never see, like I think when I first like when I was younger and would write emails such as like more as a letter,
Hmm.
I used to use sincerely a lot.
Ooh, yes.
Yeah. And then no one ever uses yours, yours truly.
Yes, I
It
haven't
feels
seen
like
that.
almost like I don't know why if we just think it's like a little bit romantic to use yours always.
Yours always and forever.
Don't put that in your business emails. It's weird.
No, it is weird. I don't think that would resonate well.
No.
Something that I don't feel mature or established enough yet to use is thanks, but THX exclamation mark.
I know who you're referencing for that one.
I know, and I hope she listens to this because she'll laugh.
Yes.
I don't feel established enough yet for that. Maybe one day.
Yeah. I used it once actually. I think it was today or yesterday. And
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know. I was like, I don't feel grown up enough for this.
You're like,
I'm not authoritative enough for.
You're like, I'm feeling powerful.
Yeah. Yeah. I must have been full of myself. I don't know who I sent it to, but it was probably you. I could explore with that.
Yes. Well, I'll look back through my email and I'll let you know.
Yeah. Yeah. There is one email sign off that stands out in my mind for like someone I email quite frequently, and it's make it a great day.
Oh, love that.
It's not even have a great day. It's like make it a great day.
It is your responsibility.
I know. And I'm like, yes, ma'am. I will make it a great day. I don't know why I've seen this email hundreds of times now, but it makes me stop and think every time.
Yeah. See, my personal favorite email signature is it doesn't have a thanks. It doesn't say their name at the bottom. It's just, please ignore typos. This was sent on my iPhone. And I'm like, I feel like I need to add that in so that if I ever royally screw up an email, I can just blame it on typos from my iPhone.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. But then again, I also don't feel established enough for that yet, where that's acceptable.
Yep. All right. Can I read you some unhinged email sign-offs that I found?
Yes,
Just to
please.
close out?
Yes, please.
You're almost done, folks. Thanking you, dearest one, and blessing
Oh.
the hours you have left.
Oh.
I'm like, am I going to die?
Oh my God.
Okay. Warmly, but not kindly. Oh, God. Okay. Oh, this one. Okay. This is definitely industry specific. I'm a birth worker, and the amount of times I've seen a cervix is non-negotiable. Like, what?
Oh God.
I quit. You suck.
Oh God.
If anyone cares, comma.
I feel like that's for me.
Yeah.
That one's mine. That's my sign off.
And then here's what I would put: best fishes. And not notice.
Oh God.
Go. Stay tuned. Although that one, I feel like stay tuned. That's a fairly common one.
Yeah, I've used that every so often when it's like you're gonna follow up later.
Yep. Oh, pandemically yours.
Nice.
Mm-hmm. Oh, okay. Let's do one more here. At a loss for words.
I also feel like that would come from me.
Yeah.
That would come from both of us. It would be a joint email.
Yeah.
All right. Well, yeah, that was a very unhinged ending. Thank you for sharing those.
No problem. I'm sure there's way better ones out there, but those were fun. I'll have to find some more.
Yeah.
Anyway, you guys should let us know what your email sign-offs are, or what are your quirks when you are writing emails. I feel like it's so personal. We all have our weird style that we just go with.
Precisely. And if you could please leave us a 5-star review or a 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, that would be great. And we just love to hear from you, and it really helps out the show. So, do you have anything left to say to our lovely listeners tonight, Laura?
I think the last thing to say is if you like this episode, definitely check out our other episodes. We have over 50 of them for you to listen and download and enjoy. And also make sure you share them with friends, family, coworkers, and anyone else you think would like to hear what we got to say. And with that, live like tea.
Live like tea.